It's just like, hey, I want cold brew green tea, no sugar, nothing. Just give me that bitter taste.
Makes sense. And you got rid of your blue light glasses. So I guess
Oh, I
um
forgot. But yeah, I think fuck that. Who cares?
yeah. I mean, it makes sense. But like for me, I guess blue light glasses are so interesting because it's like it feels like such a cope to like look at screens all day. It's like, oh no, I'm fine. I can look at screens 24 hours a day, but I have blue light glasses, so I'm completely
Hmm.
unaffected by it, you know?
I mean, yeah, like I don't know what like the science is. I haven't actually studied it. I'm sure that it's blocking something, but that doesn't mean, yeah, you can just stare at the screen for like 24 hours or whatever. Um, at that point, I'm just like, first of all, mine's yellow, so like even when I'm like designing software or something like that, like I need to see colors actually. Like I don't want my whole world to be yellow. So yeah, I guess, but hey, at least it looks cool, you know?
Definitely. I mean, you kind of have the Mexican filter on in television. You know, like you're just prepared to see that color grading wherever you go.
Yeah.
Um, makes sense. Man, it's always nice just like looking at some of the other talking points we had in the previous episode. One thing that I found so profound, I guess, is this or I got profound is maybe the wrong word, but I find it so interesting to talk about this integration of negative aspects of ourselves and bring that to the front. You know, this idea, the Sam Altman argument of, okay, I'm just going to bring this to for profit, but I'm not going to tell anyone. Not going to embrace it. I'm not going to say anything about it. And how would you say, in general, is authenticity in the bubble that you live in?
Um, look, I think it's hard not to fully, I guess, like you're always striving to be authentic, but I think it's more of a spectrum than like the very nature of your existence. Like if you're going to that level of authenticity, then like I would say that's a very deep spiritual state of experience where like basically it's like a state of experience that most advanced like sadhus and like these really like people committed to life itself, they reach that level of authenticity. But I think like when you're functioning in the real world or in the more practical world, everyone's functioning according to their narrative. Like even if you're functioning authentically, that itself is also a narrative. Maybe you're acting a certain way to be perceived as authenticity. This world is like this, at least this materialistic world is like a game of perception, and you're playing into the perception of what you feel of the narrative you've told yourself, right? So I guess like slight tangent, but um let's take it back to SF. In SF, you're launching like startup companies, you're doing like marketing campaigns. It's like half the marketing campaigns are not fully authentic, right? Like half the time you're selling the vision, which is probably not real right now. So I guess like I think for me personally, it's a bit of a I always ask myself that question, like how do I bring the most authentic self to my work, but at the same time, like understand like, hey, look, these are just part of the rules of the game to achieve a certain outcome. Like and like how much of that of those rules am I gonna play with and incorporate, or just like am I just gonna be an anarchist and create my own rules? You know, which is like, yeah, you want to have some level of anarchy and some level of rebellion, or just like that's true authenticity is when you're like, I don't give a shit about the rules. This is just the only rule is like showing up in my way. But I guess that is what I personally have like. I'm just like flowing and not having an opinion with what rules there are. It's like I accept the existing way of doing things because I don't have any, I can't really do much about the changing the system, let's say. But given that system, how do I navigate in the most authentic way? That's like the constant, I guess, like as long as you're asking that question, like at least you can function from a place like, oh, okay, like the why should be authentic, but the way it's presented doesn't have to be like so like truthful, right? Like too much honesty can also like, like there's more practical considerations with honesty. I think it's more of a spectrum, but like, yeah, I guess that's basically how I navigate authenticity right now. I think,
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I think it did. And yet I think especially in the environment, I mean, from speaking outside of the bubble, but I think you cannot, I mean, this refers to really anything. I think conformity, at least some level of conformity is important, but then I think conformity isn't what creates a new path. Because I think by just conforming to society, by just conforming to the rules, you're not creating your own imprint on the world. Because it's necessarily following footsteps, right? That are given by a greater collective, by, let's say, as you were saying before in podcasts, this idea of people want to be the next Steve Jobs. And it's like a blueprint to follow, but that already makes it conform and it breaks the authentic self that we all carry within us into a mold. And I think partially that mold is a great protection because we're less attacked by society, because we don't, we're easily put in boxes, let's put it like that. And I think when we're not able to put people into boxes, that's when it gets tricky for our minds to be like, oh wait, like what am I supposed to do with this? And I think finding this middle ground between conforming so that the general public accepts you, at least to some level of degree, is important. Like, I think if you stop showering and stop conforming to those basic hygiene things, you're not going to go far. But if you conform to other aspects of society and then create your own path and be kind of radical about it, having a lot of integrity for what you're doing and come from a place that's really authentically you and morally right, I think is the way to do that. But I imagine, especially in your bubble in San Francisco, that there's a very fine line between that, because at least from the outside, it looks like there's a lot of presentation, like everyone needs to wear a mask in order to seem greater as they are. Or how would you say that experience is?
That's a like kind of accurate. Like America in general, right? Is again like it's a capitalistic country first. Morals are sort of this like narrative to placate any like it's a PR stunt usually. Um, but yeah, the goal is always acquiring more capital, and that inherently doesn't have to be bad, but it just like yeah, I guess that just shows up in different flavors depending on where you are in the US. Like in SF, it's like, hey, we've got like extremely talented people from all around the world starting companies and doing very interesting software projects, let's say. But again, it's like it like that's their game, right? And then in New York, it's more of like Wall Street finance bankers kind of thing, and that's their game. So yeah, like what you said is pretty spot on. It's kind of like, look, those are the games, right? But how am I playing the game? Like I remember keep being reminded of like that Bruce Lee be like water quote, right? Like if you're the water, like you're born with a certain set of characteristics, and then over your life, you accumulate experiences and knowledge and a worldview that's constantly being shaped as long as you keep growing and learning. That'll keep evolving. But that is basically that's what creates your water, let's say, right? The combination of all those ingredients. Um, and then given that, are you like brute forcing? Are you like a tsunami going against the system or the barricades of the game, let's say? Or are you like molding according to the game? I think before I used to be the tsunami, like my water was like it's my way or the highway kind of thing. But now it's like, look, I still have my beliefs and my worldview, but we don't have to destroy everything along the way to get there. I guess that's where I'm at. It's it's like a balance between this is what I believe, but this is okay if you don't believe it, and we can peacefully coexist, and I can figure out another way. Or like if I have to like confront, you can, but it's like that's not the first priority confrontation. I feel like it's more like this is the mold. I'm willing to take the shape of that mold if needed to be, but the shape I take is also determined. The extent I bend is also determined by what it is I'm doing. If that's going against my core values and beliefs, right? My core worldview. That's the whole question. I think with like this AI surge, like if I think of OpenAI going for profit, to me from an outside perspective, it feels like there wasn't much of a core. It was built on this like theatrical core of this is a nonprofit for the good of humanity, whatever. But then the power just like came so quickly, and he saw the opportunity to just like become way more powerful doing it himself and monetizing himself. And he just jumped on it. He's like, look, I can be one of the most powerful person in the world closing this system instead of opening it. And he chose that. But look, that's his framework, right? It's like that's just what he decided to do. But it's like someone else with a very strong and different worldview who's like more for profit oriented or pro humanity oriented may not have chosen that path. So it's individual. I try not to judge anyone's decisions because to be honest, I didn't even know what I would do. Like there's so many variables there that the public is not even aware of, I'm sure, right? Like if I was the CEO of OpenAI, I'm sure there's like a lot of backdoor discussions going on. There's way more considerations than the media is just portraying to us. So I think it's like yeah, it's very contextual and just to me, all I care about now is like how I show up in the day. Am I more centered? Am I like I guess from pseudo spiritual like am I like showing up with the frequency I want to show up in? And then the easiest solution is to just keep showing up in that frequency and sort of like trust the uncertainty of life, right? I think right now I'm more in that because like life has never been more uncertain anyways, even with the innovation and technology. So yeah, I think that just gives me peace and I'm like, okay, I'll just like this is I've turned the game into a play. I can just play the game and enjoy it. Why not?
Yeah, beautifully said. I think there's so much wisdom in that, like to be like water and to just not also brute force obstacles, but like swim around them and be strong. It's interesting, especially with what you said. It kind of reminded me of this speech. I forgot his name, even though his name should be everywhere. But that's kind of the point that he made on stage. He's the inventor of the World Wide Web, right?
Oh, Kid Berners-Lee.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And he was on stage at Web Summit and he was saying a sentence that moved me perhaps the most of all of the summit because I'm not from the tech bubble. It was interesting to have like a glimpse into it, but the way he addressed the public was like, okay, and everyone here, you guys are the future of the web? And how do you want to do it? Do you want to build it for everyone, like World Wide Web used to be? Or do you want to exclude it, put it behind paywalls, put it behind data securities and whatnot, And I found that so powerful because here is a man who walked the walk, right? This is someone who, I mean, inventing the World Wide Web, he would be a gazillionaire. I don't know, like he could have made so much money, and yet he decided to say, okay, no, this is for the public. And I think I do believe that, especially in this age where everything becomes more uncertain, if we are listening to that inner compass that we do all have, and again, also without judgment, but I think there can genuinely be such a renaissance. I think oftentimes people are in such a gloomy phase where they just paint everything black. And I think it's also important to not give the news that much credit and also stay within, as you say, and center ourselves and just show up and trust the uncertainty, and if humans do one thing well, it's adversing to situations and problems. We're super adaptable, and I think I also trust that we're going to find whatever solution necessary in order to continue.
Yeah, I mean, it really takes a lot to be truly helpless, right? Like I I'm not saying I've suffered like too much, but like I was like I think I've taken like probably a bit more risk, or I have a bigger like a slightly bigger risk appetite than maybe the average person, let's say. Um simply because like I remember when like if I flash back like ten years ago, I was uh basically quit law school. Um I was like, hey, I'm gonna learn this coding thing and get into tech somehow. My parents were like, you're an idiot. Why did you study 5 years of law and then you should have just done computer science or something, right? I was like, yeah, true, maybe. Um, but I didn't. So this is how I'm gonna do it. And they were kind of worried, like, hey, I don't know, like how are you gonna compete with all these like CS majors, blah blah. Are you gonna get a job, blah blah. Same concerns. And there was like a year of like just literally sleeping on my friend's couch. Like they were working in tech. I could learn from them, but basically like like I was not making money, so I was just living on the couch, just like eating food, barely enough money for like food and stuff. But I was never like worried. I was like, I'm just gonna make this happen, and that's it. And like what's the worst that can happen? Especially I was in India at that time, so I was like, look, okay, food isn't that expensive. Shelter was basically taken care of because I was on my friend's couch. All I have is time, and that's the luxury right now. So let's just use the time to learn skills and build the projects, whatever, build my portfolio. And I had no idea where it was going to take me, but I knew something was going to come from it, right? And it did. Like, but I couldn't have told you today I'm going to be in SF, like doing like some startup stuff, and like stuff is actually happening. I couldn't have predicted this, but you show up with that like thing that this is like when you're on the path that makes sense to you, and even if you don't know where that's leading you, like like at least for me, I felt I was like, look, I'm not going to do anything else. What else am I going to do? So this is just what I'm going to do, and I'm going to make something happen. And yeah, you just have that trust. Like nothing is going to be that bad to be truly homeless. Like yes, like I do see homeless people here, but their life, like my life was nowhere near as like crazy as theirs. Like they're addicted to like some drugs, like fentanyl, whatever. Like they're physically like incapacitated, right? They don't have any like other way. So almost like like my situation was not there. So I'm like, if I'm not there, or if I'm not in like some Middle Eastern country, like waking up to bombs and stuff, um, I think I'm pretty fine. I can figure shit out. I shouldn't be complaining, right? I guess that's the sort of the philosophy I came from. Um, but yeah, I don't even know which question.
No, but that's beautiful. And I feel the same in my life. And I find it interesting. I think one of the important things, I guess that would be a good question of like, what was your way of dealing with the uncertainty? Or were you ever in a space where the worry got to you? Or did you have any methods to, I guess, fight this uncertainty and keep going, even though it was somewhat irrational? I mean, I think there's a force that brings us there, but was there a thing you did that really helped you?
I think, to be honest, like in my life, I've like I grew up in like basically four different countries throughout my childhood. So my childhood itself was pretty uncertain in the sense that like I mean like I spent like more than 12 years in Australia, so that was more of a consolidating period. But like before that, I was in a different country, like 4 years, and then another like the first like 2 years of my life in another country. So changing environments and then becoming more accustomed to those environments was like uncertainty to me early on. But then after Australia, I moved to India and then spent another like 10 or 12 years there. That was a big shift, just culturally, everything. So that was a lot of uncertainty for me. But then what I realized, like when I was in law school and stuff like that, that was like a really introspective period for me. Was I think I'm just intrinsically, I fear boredom and monotony more than uncertainty. At least that's what I've noticed. Like when I did my internships in law school, working in law firms and the court system, that felt first of all like oh you I first of all felt like I wasn't making the most of my full capabilities. Like I wasn't being used to my full potential. And secondly, I just felt like this just seems like showing up and doing really boring, like non-exciting stuff. Right. I think that's really what I listened to, and that's what led me to getting into tech. It was really that feeling, but I was very like protective of that feeling. I would not listen to anyone, not my parents, nothing. And I would just listen to that feeling. So, anyways, coming back to your question, like I think it wasn't, I don't know if it was something I trained or I'm sure you can train it by keeping yourself exposed to those situations more. But I think that's what makes me feel alive is like with uncertainty comes excitement and it makes me feel like, oh, I have to like solve problems, like I gotta figure out stuff. Like that kind of makes me like I think that's why I'm doing startups, like just to feel alive in some way.
Yeah, and I think also being active. I think there is
Mm.
this approach to this where it's either, oh, this blind trust of it's gonna work out and then slouching on the couch, or like it's gonna work out and being active, like working on it and trying to see, okay, how do I get out of this? Problem solving, as you say, in any way or another. And I think that is exactly what um feeling alive is also for me. This idea of, oh hey, there's a new project that's exciting, I've never done something like this before, I'll do it. And it's like this jump into the cold water. I mean, of course there's a craze with saunas and cold like ice bath and that type of stuff. And I think it's kind of connected to this feeling of this idea of, okay, I'm just going to do something that's going to shock my system, whether that's mental or physical or spiritual. And I'm going to go through this in order to become who I want to become, because I think it is based on that adversity. And with the background that you have, would you say in the end studying law is something that has benefited you in this journey now in the SF startup bubble?
Yeah, I mean, SF aside, I think every experience has a positive that you can learn from. Like even every negative experience, every so-called boring experience. Like if I objectively look at it, I learned how to read a lot. and I like a lot of like boring stuff. And I learned how to write a lot, and I learned how to speak a lot. These were skills that I would like they were way more amateur before I went to law school. Law school's all about reading, writing, and speaking. And especially the speaking part, I wasn't really much of a like talkative kid, but in law school I had to talk because I had to like uh, we did like mock trials in college. So like you have to always do like public presentations, public speaking, um, speaking to other people when you're in the court system, like relationship building, being street smart, especially being a lawyer in India, you have to be very street smart. You have to like develop rapport with like potential clients. You have to be friendly with your other like colleagues in the court system. Like there's so many things going on that require you to be like the legal knowledge itself is not what's important. All of the soft skills like speaking, relationship building, like being smart, you know, that was like the stuff I learned. And I think I probably wouldn't have learned that. Let's say I did do computer science. I don't think many computer, I mean, no hate on computer science, but like, I don't think they're interacting with so many people or exposed to those kind of situations, right? As much as I was. So from that foundation, I think it gave me the good foundation to like then acquire more technical skills. Um, I don't know, like it's just ingrained into my personality now that I think like even with the opportunities I get now, I think yeah, my skills are there, but I think 50% is attributed to me going out, talking to people, and being like, "Hey, I can do this." Like putting myself out there. That's like equally important. I'm sure I'm not the most talented person or most capable person for the job, but I made myself known to the person who was hiring that I am a capable person for the job, right? And I think that's the difference. I just went and got it.
Yeah, super well put. I find always that life ends up bringing us exactly what we need for a later chapter. You know, it feels like, I mean, it'd also be interesting to hear your take on this, but some things just feel like destiny or fate. This idea of, oh, you're supposed to do this in order for that, even though it doesn't make any sense in the moment. And I find that interesting because it happened to me a couple of times too. I was supposed to do an exchange in Chile, and without applying, I got an acceptance letter to go to Lisbon. And it was one of those, okay, why? Like without applying, how do I get in a university? That doesn't make any sense. And it ended up drastically shifting my life, obviously. And I'm very grateful for this. However, it is that certain notion that there's so much we can control, you know. But I think by being active, by talking to people, we increase our chances for destiny to kind of pick us up. I see it also not as this thing of, you know, the slouching example of, oh yeah, you reach your destiny anyways. I don't believe in that, but I think there's a German saying, which is kind of like luck beholds those who act. And I find that very true because it's like it comes to you, but only when you do. So
Yeah.
what's your stance on that, on destiny and fate?
Yeah, I like that a lot. I actually like what you said. You touched on, I think something about like who you become, like as a person. I think, like, I mean, you said something about the like like knowing who you want to become. I think on that note, it's fine to not know actually. Like, I don't think most people, at least even I didn't know who I wanted to become, but that just happens the more you just, like you said, do stuff, right? Just keep exploring, keep doing stuff, but being active is how you become the person you're supposed to become. Like being passive and like complaining that, oh, life sucks or I'm not having this, like that doesn't do anything. It just makes you a good complainer. Life doesn't have an opinion about like what's going to make you good at. You can be a good lazy person if you just practice laziness, or you can be a good active person in some degree. Like let's say I'm doing 100 pull-ups every day, I'm gonna be the best. Maybe I'll like challenge the world record if I do that every day, right? So the more active you are and the more diverse experiences you get, that will life will respond and shape your personality in a way that makes sense, right? Automatically.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. It's not that I had any idea of wanting to become who I am now. It's an unfolding, and I find that so fascinating as well. This old saying of it's never the same man stepping in the same river, right? It's everything is constantly changing and evolving, and these ideas that we have in the moment are just the key pieces that lead us to other phases in life. It's like that call that you had to be a lawyer, then years down the line gave you all the soft skills to become very skilled in an area where I think those soft skills aren't necessarily so prevalent. Again, no hate to computer scientists, but it's just part of the game, because obviously you learn a completely different set of skills that are applying to various different things. And it's certainly interesting to see that play out. Do you have an example where you would say that there was a big synchronicity, as Carl Jung called it, but just a conjunction of you meeting luck? Do you have a story like that?
Um, I'd say with this current role, for sure. Maybe that's the most recent example. Um, yeah, basically I worked with this like one of my teammates in this team in this company right now, previously on another startup. We worked on that together. And then he basically like fast forward a year, he applied to a startup accelerator. They got accepted, they got funding, but then they needed to build product. And he was like, he reached out to me saying like, hey, like we need to build like this product. Like I think like it's a good fit. Like you should join. And basically that was luck, right? But at the same time, that wouldn't have happened if I never took the chance of like trying to do a startup with him before, right? So so I think luck is a factor for sure, but you have to be putting yourself in places where serendipity also happens more. So I think that's where it's like people like, look, choose the place that has more of the luck that you want happening there. So in SF or Bangalore or whatever, like these are tech hubs with like booming startup tech culture. If you want to do that, just go there. Just put yourself in the environment first. Then you'll just that'll become the norm, right? Like everyone is doing companies like left, right, and center. Like everyone's trying to do very exciting things. That'll automatically boost your game. But if I want to do like achieve like peak levels of bliss, go to India somewhere, like some ashram or like, like that's where everyone is channeling the energy for that intention. So that's what I would say is like luck is a factor, but act in a place where the environment is conducive for the luck you're desiring.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. I believe in that so much. The environment shapes us so drastically. And I think it's important to be in the rooms with people that you want to connect with, right? It's like you want to be a filmmaker. Okay. I don't think you're necessarily having the best success if you go to soccer practice. Like, bad example, maybe, but it's just finding the spaces. I remember I had a friend of mine who has a finance job, and he did an internship in Manhattan. And it was also for him like, okay, no, it's important for him to have an apartment in Manhattan and not in like a cheaper area of New York, because he wants to be in the same streets than the people actually doing the finance, right? It's this idea of and of course that's a luxury, but you can take that to any sort of degree, just putting yourself in the spaces where it is likely you go for a cafe in a place that other people that you'd want to connect with are also present, right? And I
Mhm.
think that's an underestimated one too. It's an underestimated one because I think it's such a crucial, crucial thing that most people may not even be aware of, because this idea of, oh, I'm on the internet anyways, I can just do whatever because it's global, and that's true, but it helps to just meet someone in person, because that vitamin C is for connections, are
Mhm.
is sometimes the most crucial there is in terms of the business world.
I mean, even in SF, I'm seeing many companies like they post on LinkedIn. They sign like six-figure contracts just by going in person to the customer, right? Um, it definitely works. Um, but yeah, like to your point, I think yeah, luck favors the people who act and put themselves in that situation. But like also, I would say even if your resources are not quite there to be in that position, like when I was in SF last year, or like almost almost 2 years now, but like yeah, a year and a half. Um, I didn't have like crazy amount. Like even if I had enough resources to like last like at least a year in like let's say Asia or Bali, whatever. SF like that's like a couple months, like maybe 2, 3 months of runway, right? And you still decide to go to SF like that. Like it's a norm. Like it's stupidity, right? It's like look, you're gonna get hit zero soon, and then what? But I knew I'm gonna give it a shot, and I'm gonna do shit, and I know whatever happens, at least I'm in that space. And guess what? Like that's what happened. Literally, what happened is I tried to do a startup with this guy. That startup worked out a little bit, and then it was getting some traction, but then just didn't play out the way we wanted to. And then fast forward a year, like now it's playing out because of that, right? So yeah, just take the leap of faith, and even if you fail, who cares? Like everything's a learning experience. Literally every single thing is a learning experience, and nothing teaches you more than failure and hardship. Like more than your professor or some mentor or guru. Like a real mentor is trying to guide you to take more life experience, or seek more challenges in life, I think, that are more conducive to you, right? But it's you have to do the you have to live life still. Like you can't just like know about everything and just not apply anything.
Yeah. Yeah, life isn't in the books, as they say, right? And I think it's so true in that regard. It reminds me of the story of The Alchemist. I don't know if you read the book. It's an amazing book, definitely one of my favorite.
Yeah.
And it's the, I guess, the allegory of the Englishman who just has studied alchemy in every book imaginable, but then he has a revelation of like, oh wait, I can use the chemistry, like while he's somewhere in the middle of the desert. And yet it's also this idea of following signs that comes up a lot in the book, right? This idea
Mhm.
of, yeah, listening to your own self, and then also seeing what the environment kind of gives you. So when you made that first jump to SF 2 years ago, or even now, do you experience sorts of signs that you follow, or what would you say is your general compass for decision making? Is it very rational? Is it a mix? Is it intuitive? Is it, oh, okay, there's a license plate with my birthday right after the meeting, that must mean something. How do you treat that situation?
Yeah, it's mostly like I would say it's rational first, but definitely guided by intuition as well. Like there's a combination of both. Um, like with SF, I was like, yeah, look, I've never been to SF, but I know for a fact there are like extremely smart people there. I came to SF just to like once as a tourist just to see what's going on in this place, and what the culture is. I was like, yeah, there's some really interesting people and like really like successful, like materially at least people around like that you wouldn't even like have access to normally if you're living in the middle of nowhere, like in Bali or whatever, right? Um, so I was like, yeah, okay, I have to be here. Like, so it was a rational decision, but that intuition took me to like take that um like to come and explore this place as a tourist, right? But yeah, I think when in doubt, just do it and see what happens. What's the
Yeah,
worst that will happen, right?
I like that. For me, a personal one is also following excitement. That has been like my main driver of things. And excitement is also sometimes fear. And it's important to also know that. But I think that has been the best compass for me of like, okay, does it feel good?
Mhm.
As plain as that sounds, but I do believe in the power of just that, this idea of joy. Because I think if we follow that, it's a good recipe to go to places that are joyous. It's like you said in the last episode, I think this idea of if you don't enjoy the process, you're not going to enjoy the product, right? And I think that is so crucial to understand also as a redirective tool. If you're not having fun, if it's just miserable, if it's a day, okay, there can be outliers, of course, but I think it's good to look at and say, okay, what actually does bring me joy? And finding a mix, but it is also always connected to taking risks and to overcoming fear, because otherwise you're just stuck. And it's such a tricky construct that our mind builds herself to make the fear sometimes bigger than it needs to be. But it's so powerful to even do the small experiences to realize that this fear isn't real, which that aspect I really appreciate about this whole, ice bath, sauna culture we have going on now, because it's kind of a micro example of the macro, of the bigger scale that we find in life sometimes.
Yeah, I think also fear is a place where that maybe people have become accustomed to because it's comfortable, and comfort is the real enemy more than fear. Like we choose whatever's bad for us because it's comfortable and familiar. And even if something that makes our lives better is like it could be there, like we just won't do it because of the unknown. Uncertainty is like people don't seek it for some reason. I don't know. It's like it's a constant striving. Like I guess we're creatures of habit. So like whatever we've ingrained into our patterns, it becomes harder to let go of. But yeah, I think yeah, I just wanted to put 2 cents on that.
For sure, for sure. And it's so interesting. I mean, part of this, I'm just reminded by so many of these self-help books, James Clear, Atomic Habits, or Deep Work, Cal Newport, or this even like Huberman Lab, and all of these like voices of our present era. But it's interesting to just recognize that, yes, there might be preeminent voices that say these things, but it is also collective truth in a way, or collective feeling more than particularly one source of information. Because I mean, that idea I find fascinating, not to go on a whole esoteric tangent where ideas come from or thoughts, but I think it's so interesting to also see the connectedness that we have as a society, as humans, to recognize some of these universal patterns throughout ages. When it comes to these wisdoms, even if we look at philosophy from way back when, Mark Aurelius and thinkers like that have always brought forth this idea of we need to strive in order and reach our potential, essentially, right? Because I think that's the big gift and big present we're given at life, this potential that we feel. And I think if we act, if we move towards it, we're actually able to achieve it. um, so what would you say, like, when it comes to this potential? Is it same as you said before, like there is no such thing as this is my goal, this is who I want to be, this is what I want to become? But do you have some sort of striving motto that you just can go after whenever you feel like you're not fulfilling that potential?
Yeah, I guess I just like it's more of just a listening to um that gut feeling of like, hey, am I like making use of the potential I'm holding, or not? Like it's basically just that. Does that feel like what's happening in this moment? Um, Look, there are days like where you're not going to be 100%. That's fine, but like overall, is the trajectory pretty good given everything? Or like am I completely dissatisfied? Like that's a constant like realignment question to be asked. But the other thing I kind of wanted to touch on was like what you said before was the you mentioned something interesting, which is like being guided by the desire to be joyful, right? Which is I don't think the highest priority for many people, right? It's funny, like I think me joy is also a pretty high priority, but I think it depends on the person's worldview, whether that's like the one of the higher priorities, or like that's a sacrifice to be made in some pursuit of, let's say, like power or something, right? Material gain. I think I would say in my through my observation, it's probably more of that culture in society now is where like at least amongst like the successful hustler culture is like, hey, sacrifice like your feelings, like fuck your feelings, fuck your like pain is like pleasure type stuff. Um, there is some like stoicism and stuff to that. Like I can appreciate pushing yourself to the limits. We mentioned potential. Pushing yourself to the maximum potential does require you to endure extreme testing your limits, right? Like testing the barriers of pain and breaking through, right? But is that a priority for you, or is joy your priority? So I think it depends on the worldview. What is the framework they use for life? Like, is it listening to their feelings more, or is it fuck your feelings and like goals, everything? Like, I'm gonna die to get there, right? But for me, I kind of like, I think I'm very open book with these philosophies or perspectives because there's something really powerful to be gained from any one of those perspectives. Like when I watch 50 Cent's Get Rich or Die Trying, I don't want to live that life, but that hunger, like literally coming back from death, literally like getting shot 9 times and then coming back and be like, I'm gonna be a fucking rapper, or I'm gonna get rich or die trying. That is inspiring for sure. Like, man, the amount of it's not even motivation at that point. It's like, look, this is gonna happen, or I'm gonna die trying. Like, imagine, like, even to say that, it's like something's gonna happen in life. Like, the like life will yield to you in some way. And I think that's like you can take snippets of those in your life. Um, because at the end of the day, we're all kind of just navigating according to whatever makes sense for us. So I think even what I'm saying or whatever someone else says, I don't think anyone watching this like that's what we naturally do anyways, but like everyone's a guru in some way telling you how to live your life or what works for them. Just listen, but don't treat everything as gospel. If it sits well with you, you can take it. If it doesn't, chuck it. Like there's no rules, right? Just that's it.
I completely agree with that. It's like I had this thought the other day, if perhaps even not that all advice is bad, but I think especially nowadays where we're confronted with so many different worldviews just by being on our phone, be it LinkedIn, Instagram, or TikTok, whatever, it's being confronted with so many different ways of living is passive advice in a way where it's like, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, oh, I should have done that AI startup, or oh, I should have went to Bali here, or oh, I should have saved that money to go. And it's important to recognize that we all have our very own journey. Yes,
Mhm.
it's nice to have a conversation with a friend to just get some small advice of, hey, I have this problem, can you help me? But also be wary of who you share this with and who you ask advice from. And also know that no one else can do your decisions for you. And I think that is very important. And that was a big lesson for me last year, where I was always very focused on following these signs, be it some type of license plates or stuff like that. If it's like in a significant moment, I would follow that. But this past year, I really went away from it because it's also a recognition within me happened where I felt I was taking away my own power to make decisions and just putting it to the outside. Like, oh, I'm
Mm.
gonna do this because it's right now. It's like
Yeah,
4:44.
hey, I saw the license plate. It has to be.
Exactly. And I realized how dumb that is. As much as like there is this spirituality of wow, wow, synchronicities, and I think there are some beautiful ones every now and then. But I think to base life decisions on that is giving away the most important resource that we have, and that is decision power.
Hmm. Yeah. It's like tied to fear of failure again. Am I making the right decision or am I making the wrong decision, right? And the point is, who cares? Just make a decision. Don't overthink it. If it feels good, or if your gut is telling you that, hey, let's give it a go, just do that. It doesn't have to be the most rational decision all the time. Everything works out in the end, whether it's irrational as well. Actually, I would argue the most irrational decisions I've made have been more important in shaping my trajectory of life and molding my character and my where I am today than the rational decisions, right? Because your rationality is based on your worldview at that moment in time. But irrationality exposes you to new circumstances that shape your rationality and expand your rationality. So be irrational, it's fine. The rationality will come anyways. We're always striving to be rational anyways. But to challenge yourself and to put yourself in irrational situations, that's the difficult part.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a beautiful sentence to end it on, honestly. I think that was, yeah, that was beautiful. It's interesting to see how much this spiraled into the depth, like we had like techie conversations
Yeah, yeah.
before, and this was so like, okay, like going deep in it, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I mean, I liked it because yeah, I mean oh shit, there was like I was thinking like, okay, what's like the latest in tech that's happened? But yeah, there was this like Claude bot thing, but we can touch on that maybe. Actually, we probably can touch on it for 5 minutes if you have time.
Sure, we can.
There was this like over the weekend, basically, there's this new sort of like AI, open source AI agent called Claude Bot. It's spelled Claw like CLAW bot. Um, and like fuck, the Twitter just like blew it up. Like everyone's like, "Oh wow, it's amazing." You can basically what it does is like it's just Claude, like the normal AI, but you can plug it into like your chats, different clients, right? Like your WhatsApp, your Telegram, whatever. But then you can just chat with this, and it can do actions for you um, in any of those interfaces, and it can even book your meetings for you and stuff like that. At least that's the promise. And like theoretically, the I was looking into the code because it's open source, and I was like, okay, that seems possible. But this code is a mess. The author of it was like, this is definitely not like ready for like the masses. This is like for developers who just like want to play around with it and like do some cool shit, right? But there's so many security vulnerabilities. And more importantly, all of this functionality, for the most part, like excluding like the Telegram, WhatsApp integrations, whatever, you can use it with like regular Claude chat that's like properly polished by Anthropic. Like you can just go there, get like a ChatGPT subscription, whatever. You can still book your meetings. You can still draft emails. Like all of that automation stuff is already there. So my point is like people, I think the FOMO kicks in immediately, and the rational mind is not really like people are not as rational as we think. The FOMO from this project over the last weekend was just insane. And I've seen these enough. I know it's gonna die. But it was just like, man, you can already do these things. Why is everyone making it seem like something game changing happened? In fact, this is a much shittier, in my opinion, shittier product than Anthropic's like Claude chat product, which you can use to like securely book your meetings, securely, authenticate and stuff. But anyways, Stride Tangent. It was just like a nice episode. I was like curious. I was like, okay, why is people talking about it? What is this thing? And then I downloaded the code. I did the setup. First of all, the setup was a nightmare. I was like, there's no way in hell a normal person is going to use this, right? Even with like AI vibe coding, it was so difficult to set up. I mean, like it was so tedious to set up. So I was like, yeah, like this just makes no sense. And I deployed a server with like I basically deployed it to like a cloud instance, and I was like, man, I took this down last night because I was like, this shit is so insecure. So I just pulled it down.
Damn. I mean, that's also an interesting thing because, like, from just a user's perspective, security breach is something I do not give a fuck about. I'm just like, I see this app in the Play Store and I'm like, sure. Now, I've no, it's probably more to it than just downloading it. I'm sure of that, but it's like, it's very interesting to see like the different aspects of this from like a developer lens to like just like just user just being, oh, looks cool. It's like, but it is completely
Oh man,
irrational.
it's super irrational. I can totally see someone if they use this and connected their WhatsApp and Telegram, and if they don't know what they're doing, it can easily expose like your password, your connections, like to like. And the author is not to blame here. He just released it, and he was like, "Look, it's definitely not like fully security compliant, or it's not fully polished. This is just some cool shit I've been working on." He kind of shared, and this Twitter just blew it up. There was like a crypto meme coin that launched from Claudebot. Like it wasn't even him. It was just like the Twitterati or X, whatever.